I'm Brittany Brown, creator of the Beating Binge Eating Blueprint and leader of the Food Freedom Fighters. So last week on my blog over at beatingbingeeating.com, I shared the inside scoop of one of my clients, what did work for her, what didn't work for her as she was transforming her struggle with her body and food into freedom. And this week in this video, I'm going to break down the why and how so you can learn from her journey and apply what she learned to your very life. In this video, I'm going to talk about the foundation for food freedom forever and wrap up with some actionable insights so you can apply these tips and steps to break through today. So the average journey when someone struggles from binge and emotional eating usually goes one of a few ways, but this is kind of the average path that I see. So typically someone is trying to control their food. That's kind of the beginning of the cycle, whether it's a diet, whether it's restriction, whether it's a large weight loss at some point in their life, something triggers this cycle. And what happens is as someone feels more and more out of control with food, they attempt to control the food more. This is what the diet industry teaches us, and this is just what common sense might tell someone to do. So once someone spends years in that frustrating cycle like I did, typically they start widening their horizons. Some people might even feel like a food addict, like food's got a huge grip on them and they don't know what to do. So then they look a little bit deeper. And this is when the next common school of thought comes, which is food and weight issues aren't about food and weight. In fact, I made a blog post about this last year when I first launched my video blog. Here's the thing though, even though there's some deeper emotional things, maybe some voids that need to be filled, maybe some limiting beliefs that can start or drive someone's behavior with food, that's not what you have to correct or heal first to find freedom. And if it was, that means we'd all be meeting with a psychologist once a week or more, or going into inpatient or outpatient treatment and doing this for years and years and years because we'd think we'd have to heal everything about ourselves emotionally or fix every emotional void in our life before we can find freedom. So those are the two kind of common paths, and that's when people come to me when they're stuck either in one or two. The emotional work is important, but you should not do that first. So in this video, I'm going to share what you have to do first and foremost, and then you'll receive 2 more videos for phase 2 and 3. So phase 1, the foundation. I would love to just decorate a home, right? But you can't decorate and paint your walls and pick out all these cool things for your house until you've built the foundation. If so, the decorations might look good just for a little bit, but you're going to collapse. So that's why it's so important to start with the foundation first, and this is where so many people miss the mark. Here's the truth. You cannot beat binge and emotional eating if you are physically restricting your food, mentally restricting your food, or emotionally restricting your food. So even if you're calorically eating enough, but you're judging yourself with, this food's forbidden, I'm a bad person because I ate this, I should have more discipline and be able to do this. If you're already in the cycle of binge eating, those kind of thoughts, that kind of self-criticism and attack, and that kind of eating will do nothing but set you up for failure. And when Sarah came to me, which you can find her story on the blog, that's exactly where she was. And what happened is she dived into the program and lifted the physical restriction, meaning she started eating more food. But there was still a lot of judgment and shame and guilt around what she was eating that caused her survival mechanisms to go off and drive her to eat. And I reach back here because this is actually where they are. They are in a very automatic part of your brain. That's why when people binge eat, they go on autopilot. And this is what happens. People try to use conscious reasoning. Your psychologist might say, think of the 10 reasons you shouldn't binge, or read this list of motivation, and that does not work. Conscious reasoning doesn't work with an irrational automatic part of the brain. So this is how you can tell if your survival mechanisms are on overdrive. 1, you are thinking about food all the time. What you're going to eat, when you're going to eat, how you're going to eat, what you shouldn't eat, what you should eat. that whole thing. It's on your mind. Also, if you're thinking about your body all the time, if you are very hypersensitive to how clothes make you feel, like you can feel it on your skin, thinking about how you look in certain things, thinking about if you eat this, then I'm going to feel or look this way tomorrow. Those type of spiraling thoughts let you know that you are in survival mode. Another big telltale sign is if you can eat and eat and eat and never feel satisfied. So when the brain is restricting, it will desensitize your body to leptin, which is your satiety hormone, because you gotta think, your brain in the moment of restriction, emotional, physical, and mental, thinks that your survival is threatened. So it does everything it can to drive you to eat. So those are just a few telltale signs that your survival mechanisms are off. And here's the thing, there's no meditation, there's no psychology appointment, there's no hypnosis, there is no book, there is no ABC step 1, 2, 3 to get you to outpower and kind of strong arm or white knuckle these survival mechanisms. They will always win. Maybe you can do it for a time or two. Maybe back in the day you did it for 2 or 3 months and they worked. But if you're in a pattern of diet control and binging, that doesn't exist anymore. And that's because of the brain patterns that are in place making this process autopilot. And it's because what you're most likely doing to set yourself up for freedom is actually setting you up for failure. So first thing is first, I want to give you some action items to kind of work through this phase. And next week, we're going to talk about the other phases, because just eliminating restriction alone doesn't mean freedom from binge eating. However, you have to eliminate it for the other steps to work. So that's why we always start here, and that's why it's so important to have that foundation. So a couple steps. Focus on nourishing and honoring your body. Nourish and honor is sustainable. Respect and love is sustainable. Restriction, control, guilt, shame, judgment, hate, criticism, not sustainable. And if you've been trying that route, aka dieting, restricting, controlling, you see that it's not sustainable. Maybe you didn't know about these underlying mechanisms that you've been working against, and it's your physiology. It's something that you can't change, but just know it's time to start working with your body instead of against your body. So a really awesome tip for this is allowing yourself a meal time experience. So if you come from a fitness background, or if you've Googled a million diets, like I'm sure you have, I know I did, there's this common school of thought that meals need to be these little baby meals every 2 or 3 hours to speed up metabolism. That's not scientifically proven. I honestly don't know where that came from. Maybe in some blood sugar type situations where a person has to monitor things, maybe it's needed then. But for the average person, and I'm talking about a majority of the population, those small baby meals make you miss the mealtime experience. So a really great way to kind of combat restriction and just snacking all day, and then you get to the cabinets at the end of the night and you're starving because you haven't really had that mealtime experience, is getting present with your meals and pausing. So in the link below this video, I'm going to include a link to a blog post that I wrote a while back talking all about pausing before mealtime. And that's a great place to start this week, thinking about that love and nourishment and choosing foods that really honor yourself and not judging yourself if you have some treats, if you have a few things here and there. What makes people go down that spiral of eating the forbidden foods over and over and over is the starting over tomorrow. If there's no tomorrow to start, you really don't have to have that all or nothing approach. Balance is the key to success. Next week, I'm going to give you some tips and tricks to really work on separating yourself from your urges so your urges can actually become non-existent. And that's something I do in detail in my Beating Binge Eating Blueprint program. And I will also put a link below this video so you can explore that. So if you're watching me on YouTube, click subscribe. If you see this on Facebook or anywhere else, click share. I want to spread this message with the world, and I appreciate you helping me in doing that. Until next week, bye-bye.